Good evening, everyone. It is so good to see you. Do you know what is more frightening than a console launch without a Mario title? A console launch without a good title. Fortunately, the GameCube did not suffer such a fate thanks to the likes of games such as Super Monkey Ball and Crazy Taxi, to name a few. Indeed, it wouldn't be until a year later that we would get the GameCube's signature Mario title, Super Mario Sunshine. For instead, at launch we got Luigi. Not in a side-scroller, not a platformer, but rather something else altogether. Indulge me in why Luigi's first 3D adventure may still in fact be his greatest. Welcome to your new mansion. The origins of Luigi's Mansion begins not as a game, but rather as a demo. Space World 2000 featured Luigi screaming in horror from ghosts in a gloomy, spooky setting. The contrast of lighting and unique transparency of ghosts were meant to serve as a technological demonstration of what the GameCube hardware was capable of. Unluckily for Luigi himself, this would soon be transformed into a full-fledged title. The poor sap, ever the test dummy for Nintendo's grander schemes. Once he was implemented, the team wanted to use as little from the Mario universe as possible. Boos were the most obvious existing pool, whilst the vast majority of characters were unique to this game. Ideas for the setting itself ranged from a Japanese-style house to a sort of ninja hideout. It was eventually settled upon to be a European-style haunted mansion. From there, concepts of the layout began production, along with the idea that Luigi was in search of Mario, who had gone missing. This required and was the excuse to have our main character become very emotive, creating expressions that we would never see on the N64. We would even see little hints of his adventure to be in another game, jotted down in the original Paper Mario. Ironically, this series, which was not brave enough to give him the entire spotlight, would go on to give Luigi more character and personality than his twin brother would ever hope for. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. After all, Luigi has much more important matters to occupy himself with tonight. Starting with a little letter that told him he had won a sweepstakes that he had never entered. That's a scam, Luigi, you silly plumber. While he may not be the sharpest wrench in the toolbox, the same can be said for his brother. He went to this mysterious mansion ahead of him. But this is Mario. Surely nothing dire could occur from this, yes? With a flashlight in hand, Luigi marches to the spot on the map, finding a mansion at the marked location, certainly not in an upkept condition as one might expect. Oh, if you had also remembered to bring your common sense as well, my friend. Upon entering, our hapless hero finds that no one is home but ghosts. Ghosts and a crazy old man with a vacuum. But he isn't here for just any housekeeping, oh no. This is Professor Elvin Gadd, an inventor and ghost fanatic. In fact, he owned an entire gallery of artistic apparitions until they were released by the Boos who now inhabit the mansion. Being the only Italian plumber in sight, the mad professor tasked Luigi to clean up the mansion with the Poltergust 3000 in hand. One new to the series may beg the questions. Does this play like any other Mario title? Do we get to explore fantastical new worlds? And does Luigi have any idea what he's doing? All fair questions, dear viewers, for these were the same questions that haunted us in ye olde days of the year 2001. But to begin, I can certainly confirm that Luigi himself cannot jump, for he is burdened with a heavy vacuum upon his shoulders, and we all know what happens when residents of the Mushroom Kingdom wear a backpack. One must also ignore that Mario himself was doing front flips with a heavy water tank just a year later. We aren't meant to fathom such things. Armed with his horrific household hose, the plumber, now janitor, enters the mansion in search of Truth, his older brother, and the ghouls that have taken residence. The simple torch upon his person proves to be one of the most valuable assets in this venture, as Luigi must first stun any ghost that he sees, revealing the heart. While exposed, we witness our hero brandish the Poltergust to engage in a fierce back and forth. By tilting the control stick in the opposite direction of the ghost, he can gradually drain the life from his target. Skilled wranglers can perhaps even entrap 2 foes or more. But one thing is certain, Luigi realizes he holds more power in his hands than he realizes. Armed with wits and worry, maybe he truly can find Mario locked away somewhere in these creepy corridors. Fortunately, he is not alone. The good professor will always be one call away via the Game Boy Horror. Along with being an important lifeline, the handy handheld can also provide valuable information, map data, and perhaps the most fascinating of all, insight into the inner workings of Luigi's mind. While we have seen examples of Luigi speaking in the past, this offers a more personal experience, and much more dialogue that many would have never seen under normal circumstances. One will find that this man can be rather inquisitive and a bit rude. The Game Boy Horror can also warp one back to the foyer when scanning a mirror like so. How and why, you ask? We aren't meant to fathom such things. While Mario games are often revered as titles that take you to many fantastical worlds, from an island where everything is huge to a massive functioning clock, this is not that adventure. Once we enter these halls, we must commit to learning its layout. From the familiar foyer to the creepy kitchens, we must create an intimate understanding of where every room is in relation to one another. This perhaps may be one of the most fascinating aspects of Luigi's Mansion, the mansion itself. With a few expectations like washrooms or dining halls, every room is unique and serves to tell a part of its own story. A story that also wraps a community of ghosts into a contextually sound environment. Professor Gadd wasn't simply blowing hot air when he said his portrait ghost went missing. They have all occupied themselves within the mansion. In the first area, for example, there is a study for a father to read his books, a bedroom where a mother tends to herself, and a baby's room where a child sleeps. Within these 3 floors, it is fascinating to see how well thought out this mansion is, providing both variety and scenery within the confines of a single home, and the rooms one might believably see in a real abode of this size. It is as though they went back to the lives they occupied in the world of the living, only to be silenced by Luigi in his desperate search for his brother. Could we not have let the family and children continue to enjoy an afterlife of peace? The dancers who continued to dance could not have been left to enjoy their waltz forever? Allow the melodious sounds of a piano to continue to echo within these halls for eternity? Many are simply enjoying their worldly hobbies. The majority of these ghosts, after all, are not hostile in the least. There are those who just wish to rest, but it's Luigi who disturbs them and banishes them to an eternal afterlife of portrification. Do they feel? Do they see? In separating this community of ghosts who know each other, some who long for others, some who will never see their families again, are we perhaps the villain? Is Professor Elvin Gadd? No. Perhaps we aren't meant to fathom such things. But speaking of portrification, we do stumble upon a very important secret hidden in the mansion, partway through the adventure. Down the well, there is a secret passage that leads to a room where we discover a peculiar picture. Mario, trapped in a painting. This must be what they call tragic irony. With renewed resolve, and perhaps some more fear in his heart, the petrified player 2 must continue down these dusty rooms to unlock doors and mysteries hidden within. Luigi will find more than frights and phantoms peering beyond these walls, however. A little toad will appear to help save your game. You may come across the many stashes of cash, coins, and gems littered throughout the mansion as well. While serving no purpose or actual monetary value, it is always satisfying to watch and listen as the funds funnel into your vacuum. You may also come across a loose shoe. We do not recommend smelling it. Elemental metals will also appear, granting powers over fire, water, and ice. The flamethrower is a novel idea, but using a backpack as a hose? Surely a game would never last on that concept alone. This is a title that has fascinated me for years. Once mocked for being too short with too little substance, many now praise for its creativity, the environment, and the legacy that would follow, be it more Luigi's Mansion titles or the development of the character himself. The fact is, we did not know how to classify such a title. Not a platformer, nor a collectathon. Arcadey in nature, but still with enough freedom to define itself. And it was after much thought and contemplation that I had finally arrived at my answer. Luigi's Mansion is my favorite fishing game. You must be mad, Daniel, I can hear you saying. Fishing game? There are no bodies of water, nor fishes to be fished. What nonsense do you speak of today? Well, luckily for you, I am not mad. I am simply insane. Picture any fishing minigame. What do these all have in common? There is the player, and there is your target. One must cast the line to bait the fish to approach. Unfortunately for Luigi, he is the bait. Worry not, he'll get over it. Once the target is in sight, you must quickly act. In many instances, this is pressing the button to secure the line, making them vulnerable to catching. Within this game, it is quickly flashing the light to the target that thinks they are in for a tasty treat. Luigi's soul in this case. In this moment of decision, you begin the classic struggle, the back and forth battle between man and beast. Many fishing minigames these days rely on simply pressing a button at the most opportune moment to weaken your prey. Luigi's Mansion applies a more tactile approach. You must pull away from the target as you continue to reel it in, wearing down its stamina until you finally pull in your catch. Perform poorly and the reel will snap, requiring you to cast your line again. Not as many games take advantage of this aspect, of pulling towards yourself to emulate the feeling of wearing the fish out. Perhaps it is The Legend of Zelda that has been the most consistent in retaining this feeling. But with all of this in mind, it could be argued that Luigi's Mansion is a more faithful recreation of the fishing experience than what most games have crafted in the last 20 plus years. And while we're on that same line, we have yet to speak of the Boos themselves, who, in practice, do not appropriately fit this fishing definition, to be honest. There are 50 total in the mansion that must be flushed out and vacuumed in a much less interesting fashion. You simply hold the vacuum up and suck until the number goes down to 0. Not quite as creative, but still plenty relevant to the plot. More will be available for you to seek and neutralize as you make your way through, challenging some of the more formidable ghosts in the mansion, such as 15 Boos smooshed together, the walking, living, unliving, floating dead, and Boss Baby. Being such a perilous mission, there were times Luigi thought that he simply wouldn't make it. He exhibits the most stunning array of voices and clips within this single journey alone, whether it was whistling the theme of the mansion in lit rooms, humming the tune to stave off fear while in darkness, or calling out for his brother in fear. Mario! More fascinating even yet is the way his tone will change when lower in health. It almost breaks one's heart to listen to sometimes. Mario! After a long and treacherous road with perhaps far too many walks down the same hallway, Luigi will eventually find himself face to face with Van Gore, one of the only actual hostile portrait ghosts within this game. He is the source of the ghosts he's been facing until now, and with his downfall, there is only one path left. Deep down into the basement where King Boo and his brother await. Securing the final key, Luigi enters King Boo's main room, witnessing the hazy visage of his brother behind the ghoul. This is an act of revenge, and the king feels nothing. Even more so after Luigi all of his comrades. It is now Luigi versus King Boo in one final battle. Except it is not entirely. In a surprise twist, Bowser himself is summoned to the roof of the mansion where this battle takes place. Cunningly using his weapons against him, Luigi blasts Bowser in the head and... oh my. Luigi's Mansion is a fun and humorous spooky game that anybody can enjoy. And after the sudden shock of witnessing Bowser in his surprise appearance, the devs also said, remove his head, make his eyes pure white with no pupils, have him put his head on backwards sometimes, and don't explain a single reason why. Maybe it's them who are the mad scientists. After a long and frightening struggle, Luigi manages to deal the final blow, sucking down the king and even robbing him of his crown, the very gem that denotes his royal standing. Absolutely savage. In one night, Luigi fell not one, but 2 kings with nothing but household appliances. Has Mario ever accomplished such a feat? My personal bias is definitely not showing. With Mario firmly in hand, Luigi rushes back to the professor to begin the procedure of very, very gently removing him from the painting. I know not when was the last time I was so happy that I shed tears. But tonight has shown that Luigi fears nothing, whether that be over 100 ghosts or showing his pure emotion in front of others. For this reason alone, it is proof that Luigi is very much not simply more man than I, but rather more human than many of us can claim. Over the course of 2 decades, the masses' reception and fondness of Luigi's Mansion has only grown. It is games like this that should be appreciated for attempting something new and different. The GameCube was home to some of the most interesting innovations within our favorite series. But we have spoken of this before. The true point is that this launch title fully embraces what it is. It does not waver and it does not make any half steps. It is a single ghost-catching experience that proudly does what it does, regardless of any expectations fans of the Mario series had. It was first met with dissatisfaction, but in time it overcame that hill, and the series now holds what may be one of the single most beautiful titles in the entire Nintendo Switch library. And even beyond completion, there is still more to do. If you wanted to continue the thrills, you could enter the Hidden Mansion. It is not even that hidden, it's right there. What do you want, old man? Unfortunately, North American versions of the Hidden Mansion had the least features and differences. Luigi has a more powerful Poltergust, but will also take extra damage. In Europe, however, the Hidden Mansion would mirror this world, already giving the Hidden moniker more meaning. There are a few more unique surprises, but I may just let you discover some of those on your own. And finally, perhaps the most frightening and jarring of all, you can also watch a promotional video for these strange carrot-like creatures. Pikmin, they are called, and they are quite the curious sentient beings, as I've learned. Watch the Pikmin, behold the Pikmin, witness the Pikmin in their natural habitat. This is not a pitch for National Pictographic, but it could be. With all of that being said, I believe that is, as they say, that. Is Luigi's Mansion a title that you have grown a fondness for over the years? Perhaps you too were put off by how very not Mario this game was. Or it could very well be that you've never experienced this game at all yet. If you are still among the living, feel free to share those memories down below. It would please the ghosts as well. This concludes our tour of the mansion and insight into the curious green man. Thank you for joining me here today. Please remember to take your belongings on the way out. GVG is not held responsible for any personal items unclaimed or lost during the time of this video. Before exiting, please feel free to peruse our other attractions like our reviews, discussions, and features. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Till we meet again.